Hi, this is Matt with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we'll be showing you how to repair your appliance. Remember, anytime you work on an appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there's no chance of electrocution. In this video, we're going to show you how to change out the Maytag dryer drive motor. It's going to be a very easy repair, and it should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can click on the link below or get it at AppliancePartsPros.com. When you open up the package, you're going to get the new drive motor. The drive motor turns the drum inside the dryer. The main reason you'd be changing it out is if it's failed and the drum's not turning. In order to change the part, we have to take the dryer apart. First thing we're going to do is open up the dryer door. Once you have the door open, we can use a Phillips screwdriver to take out the screws that hold the door to the cabinet. Once you have both screws out, you can lift up on the door a little bit to get the hinges to release. Once you have them released, you can pull the door off the dryer. Now that we have the door off, we're going to remove the screws and the covers. They're on the other side. Once you have the screws and the covers off, we can pull the front panel off the dryer. To get the front panel off, you just have to pull on the front. Once you have it released, you can lift the front panel off the mounting brackets. Once you have it free, you can set it aside. Now we have to lift up the top of the dryer. We have to remove these brackets that hold it to the cabinet. So we're going to use a 5/16 nut driver to take out the screws. Once you have the screw out, we're going to lift up on the bracket and swing it towards the outside of the dryer, and then let it drop down and pull it off. The one on the other side comes out the same way. Once you have them both out, we can lift up the top. Now that we have the top lifted up, we're at the front right corner of the dryer. We're going to disconnect the wires from the light socket. There's a blue and a gray. They both have different size terminals, so you don't have to mark them. All you have to do is pull them off and let the wiring harness drop. Once you have that disconnected, we can take the front panel off. To get the front panel off, we're just going to take out 2 screws on each side. We're not going to take out the one that's in this cutout. We're going to use a 5/16 nut driver to take out the screws. Once you have all 4 screws out, we're going to lift this front panel off and then carefully rotate it around and set it on the side of the dryer. You want to be careful of the door switch wiring harnesses. Once you have that off, we have to disconnect the wires from the moisture sensors. We're going to use a small flathead screwdriver. There's locking tabs on these, so we're just going to press on the locking tab, and then we can carefully pull the wire off. Got the yellow one on the top and the blue one on the bottom. Once you have the wires off, you can set them aside. To get the bulkhead off, we're going to use a 5/16 inch nut driver to take out these last 2 screws. As you're taking the last screw out, you may want to hold on to it so it doesn't fall. Once you have both screws out, you carefully lift the bulkhead off and set it aside. To get the belt off the pulleys, we're going to reach underneath the drum and grab the idler pulley and pull it towards the left side of the dryer. Once you have it pulled over there, we can take the belt off the pulleys. Now that we have the belt off the pulleys, we can reach in and use it to lift up on the drum. And we have to guide it through these cutouts as we lift it out. Once you have it out, you can set it aside. To get to the blower wheel, we have to take off this front cover. We're going to use the 5/16 nut driver to remove the screw that holds it to the base. Once you have that screw out, we can use the 1/4 inch nut driver to remove all the screws that hold the cover to the blower housing. Once you have all the screws out, we're just going to carefully lift the cover off and swing it out of the way. You want to be careful of all the wires, but just carefully set it out of the way. Once you have the cover off, we can take the blower wheel off. To get the blower wheel off the drive motor, we're going to put a 7/8 inch wrench on the motor pulley and use that to hold the motor. Then we can use a 7/8" socket with an extension and a ratchet to take off the blower wheel. This is reverse threads, so we're going to go clockwise to break it free. Once you have it broke free, you can unscrew the blower wheel. Once you have it off the threads, you can pull it out of the blower wheel housing. Once you have the blower wheel off, we can take the wrench off the pulley and pull it out of the dryer. Now that we have the wrench out, we can reach in and disconnect the wire harness from the motor. There's a locking tab on each side that you have to press on. You can pull the wiring harness off. Once you have it off, you can just set it aside. Now that we have the wiring harness off, we have to take off the clamps that hold the drive motor to the carriage. We're going to use a big flathead screwdriver to hook onto them. And then you can press down a little bit to relieve some of the tension. And then flex the clamp so the clamp comes off. Have it off one side, you can reach down and take it off both sides, set it aside. And we can do the one in the back the same way. Just need to press down on it a little bit and flex the clamp to release it. And you can unhook it from the other side. Once you have them both off, you can reach in and lift up on the drive motor and then pull it out of the blower housing. Once you have it free, you can pull it out of the dryer. Here's the old drive motor next to the new one. If you already have one of these, great. If not, you can get it at appliancepartspros.com. When you put the motor into the cradle, you want to make sure that this little tab right here goes into the cutout on the cradle. You may have to turn the motor a little bit to get it to drop in. Once you're ready, you can turn the motor over and feed the shaft through the blower housing. As you're putting the motor down into the cradle, you want to keep it at an angle like this so that these tabs on the front mount go past the cradle and don't hang you up. Once you have it lined up, you can lower the back down so it goes onto the cradle. Once you have the motor in place, you can give it a little spin to make sure that it's locked into that little tab on the bottom. And then we can put the clamps back on to hold it in place. To put the clamps back on, we're going to hook one side of the clamp onto the motor mount. And we'll line it up with the grommet. We're going to use the big flathead screwdriver again to push down on this tab to lock the spring in. Once you have the front one in, we can do the one on the back. Goes in the same way. Once you have the clamps on, we can reach in and grab the wiring harness and plug it onto the new motor. All you have to do is line it up and make sure it snaps on all the way so you get good connection. Once you have that on, we can put the blower back on. To put the blower back on, we have to use a 7/8" wrench to hold the motor pulley in the back. So we're just going to put that on there, and you can rest it against the idler pulley and hold it there. Once you have a hold of the wrench, we're going to carefully start the blower wheel onto the threads. Remember, it's reverse threads, so we're going to go counterclockwise to tighten it down. Once you have it tightened down, we can grab the 7/8" socket with the ratchet and the extension and torque it down a little bit. We're not going to torque it down much. This is only supposed to be tightened down to 8 to 10 inch ounces. So just snug it down a little bit. Then you can pull off the socket and the wrench from the back of the motor. Once you have the wrench off, we can put the cover back on the blower housing. To put the cover back on, we're just going to carefully pick it up and rotate it over. Once you have it in place, we're going to put in 2 screws on opposite sides, so that'll align all the screw holes. We're going to use a 1/4" nut driver to put all these screws in. Once you have all the 1/4" screws in, we can grab the 5/16" nut driver and put the screw in that holds it to the bottom. Now that we have the cover on, we can put the drum back in the dryer. To put the drum back in, we're just going to line it up with the cutouts on the side panels and feed it through. Once you have it in, you can set it on the rollers and then set it down. You want to make sure when you set the belt down that you have the grooves against the drum. Now that we have the drum in the dryer, we can reach underneath and route the belt through the pulleys. Same as when we took it off, we're just going to grab the idler pulley and pull it towards the left side of the machine. Once you have it pulled over, we can grab the belt and put it over the top of the idler and then hook it around the motor pulley. To put the bulkhead back on, we're just going to kind of line it up with the blower housing and then lift it up into place. You're going to have to lift up on the drum a little bit to get the glides to go underneath the drum. Once you have it all the way on, you can push it up against the cabinet, and then we can use the 5/16 inch nut driver to put in the screws to hold in the bulkhead. Once you have this side on, we can do the screw on the other side. Before we put the front panel on, we're going to reconnect the moisture sensor wiring harness and the drum light wiring harnesses. So we're going to hook those up first. We're going to do the moisture sensor first. We're just going to plug these wires on. You want to make sure that the little locking tab locks on so they don't come off. Remember, the yellow one was on the top and the blue one was on the bottom. Once you have those on, we can connect the blue and the gray wires to the light socket. We have to run the wires behind this panel right here. So we're just gonna carefully put them through and grab them. Once you have them routed properly, we can hook the wires up. Remember, you can't mix these up. The blue one goes on the smaller terminal, and the gray one goes on the bigger one. Once you have the wires connected, we can put the front panel on. To put the front panel back on, we're just going to rotate it over and line it up with the opening in the bulkhead. Once you have it in place, we can use a 5/16 inch nut driver to put the screws in. Now that we have the front panel on, we can lower the top down. All you have to do is carefully lower down into position. As you lower down, you want to make sure that the plastic tabs go into the top so everything's aligned. Now that we have the top down, we can put on the brackets that hold the top to the cabinet. You just have to hook them up in there and then rotate them over. Then we can use the 5/16 nut driver to put the screw in to hold it on. The one on the other side goes in the same way. Now that we have the top secure, we can put the front panel on. To put the front panel on, you just have to set it onto the mounting brackets and lift it up in place. As you lift it up, you want to make sure that the little locking tabs go into the holes in the panel to hold it in place. Once you have the front panel on, we can put on the covers and the screws. We're going to use the Phillips screwdriver to put these in. Now that we have the covers and the screws on, we can put the door back on. To put the door on, you just have to line it up and slide in the hinges. Once you have the hinges on, we can use the Phillips screwdriver to put the screws in. Once you have the screws tightened down, we can close the door, plug the dryer back in, and take it for a spin. Thanks for joining us for another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. Check out our other repair videos on our site, Facebook, and YouTube.